First question is from Jay Hothi. Is there a different way to train for wide lats versus thick lats?
Width versus thickness.
I think a better way to word that question would be train for a wide back or a thick back.
Yeah, you're right. I would agree.
Then say thick lats or wide lats.
Yeah, because
that's not going to change.
No, the lats grow and they shrink, right? So if they grow, they're going to get thicker and wider.
Right.
But when you're looking at back width, you're typically talking about the lats. So if you were to look at like an anatomy chart of the back, the lats kind of come up and attach up in the top of the arms, and they come all the way down and attach up along the spine. And they're these really big kind of wing muscles that are, they give you the width look.
Right, because when you think like rhomboids or rector spinae would be
that's what's going to give you a thick back.
Yeah, rhomboids, mid trapezius, erector spinae. That's what's going to give you that kind of thick looking
like
back.
Three-dimensional.
So I like this question though, because I remember the bro way of explaining this. Like I had buddies that would train like this, where they would do all their lat exercises narrow grip, because they were, in theory, were trying to make their lats thicker that day, or they would go all wide grip because they're trying to go width. And the way this is worded is probably somebody who's been either told this or is thinking this.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the wrong way to look at it. It's like developing your lats 100% is going to make you wider looking, right? Because the lats run on the side of you like that. The muscles that I think will give you more of a thicker back look would be attacking things like your rhomboids, your traps, your rector spinae. Those are the muscles that I think are going to give you more depth. To
so typically anything that's like a pull up, a pull down, you're gonna hit the lats much more directly. Things like rows still work the lats, but you're gonna get more of those mid back muscles. Deadlifts, right? Lots of those mid back muscles, lots of the erector spinae. And it's funny, through the years, I now am able to really tell with decent accuracy if someone does a lot of rows and deadlifts versus if someone does lots of pull-ups. And you can see it in their back. You really can. I remember years ago, there was this guy that would come into the gym and he was just a pull-up machine. And he had these really wide back with these kind of hanging lats, but he did lack some of that thickness. Yeah, he did lack some of that upper back thickness. Then there was these powerlifters that I knew that lacked the width from the lat, but they had such thick, deep-looking backs. Yeah. So really, for full development, you want to kind of do all of it. You want to do all of those.
Well, that was the biggest thing that I saw. And to Justin's point about the erector spinae was, man, when you guys pushed me to lift heavy deadlifts, I had never done that in my life. Like I deadlifted, but not heavy, like not singles, doubles, triples, lifting, or even under 5 reps. It was always something I did lightweight. I did them at the end of workouts. I was never trying to push the weight with deadlifts. And I remember, I got to go back because I know you've referenced it, Sal, before in the podcast.
That picture before and after is so telling.
Yeah. And the only difference is literally, I actually threw out like all other back exercise. All I did was deadlift. And so to see the difference, now you got to remember that I got 15 years plus before that of doing all kinds of lat pull down and pull ups and all the traditional type of, lat and back exercises. The only thing I wasn't doing was really focusing on deadlifting and what that could do for my back. It's also why I'm so defensive when I see the trainers that try and shit on deadlifting as a back exercise, because nothing gave my back a fuller, thicker, better look than that. I mean, and that was one of my early critiques from judging, was when the first judge saw me, was like, oh, you could improve your back thickness. And I went after deadlifting and it totally changed the look of my back.
Yeah, it's funny when you see like strength athletes, like powerlifters, make the transition to bodybuilding, you often will see the issue of back width. So they oftentimes have to then focus on really getting the lats developed, but they don't lack thickness. Yeah. They've got really, really thick backs.
Oh, our buddy Ben Pollock is a great example of that. I mean, he is just
thick.
Thick. Super.
But you can see that he's having to work on the width to bring that kind of bodybuilding, that flared lat look or whatever. Yeah. So you got to do them both. But as far as the lats are concerned, you develop them or you don't. And when you develop them, they'll get wider and thicker. But you want that mid back, that canal down the spine where it dips in because everything's real thick. Deadlift and row. That's
that comes with that heavy lifting where you're just in that isometric contraction of stabilizing your spine.
Yeah. And now since we're on the topic, if you want that yoke where it's like the traps and upper back, like do your high pulls, your cleans, your farmer walks,
carries. Yep.
Oh yeah, you ever run into like an athlete that does just lots of cleans and high pulls. And they're not really focused on aesthetics. They're just trying to focus on
Yep.
getting really good at cleans and high pulls.
Well,
and what do they
me,
always
dude.
have?
Yep.
Super thick, like upper kind of trap.
Huge traps.
Yeah.
I noticed that from training with Justin. We trained when I was training with him, or because we were building the app while I was also competing, and I would get workouts in with him, and I would do cleans the presses. So, and I remember I went a good solid 6 months to a year of no more traditional shoulder presses. Anytime I shoulder press, I cleaned the press. And got up to a point where I was trying to catch up to Justin what he was doing weight wise, and I remember.
Were you able to get close to him or what?
I got close. I don't think I was doing the same weight as he could do.
Justin's a machine with that.
But what I did notice was, again, because I'm getting judged and I see pictures and I'm critiquing my physique like crazy during this time in my life. Was the upper back development from that was incredible, and shoulders too. It blew my shoulders up, blew my traps up. Just a great movement for the upper back.
Yeah, it's got to be the one area of the body that if you develop it really well and balanced, it gives you this overall appearance of strength.
I think some of that has to do too with it. Those exercises promote you pulling your shoulders back and better posture. So at least I feel that way. Like if you get that upper back that's thick like that, not only are you standing upright with good posture, then your t-shirt kind of hangs off so you can see that this person's all developed up there.
And the fast twitch movement, getting that kind of stimulus is
That too.
something that people lack a lot in their training. So to be able to kind of get that from some of these like powerlifting.
What a great point.
lifting.
When does anybody do an explosive exercise for your shoulders or for your upper back? Like you just rarely ever see that as an explosive type of movement that you train. I think that's part of it. I think it's good to point that out actually, Justin, because I think that's half of why I saw such great benefit from doing that was I never did that.
Yeah.
So of course it's that exercise is great for that. But if you do it all the time, obviously the thing that we always talk about, the exercise you never do is probably the most
And then
beneficial.
the other thing too is from a functional standpoint, you can't always judge a book by its cover, obviously. But I know the people that when I would grapple, the people that I could look at and tell, like that's a strong person, had a well-developed back and hips. Like everything else didn't matter. If they had a well-developed back and hips,
They're strong.
you know that they're strong. You tend to see that in athletes.